Vibe to the right, vibe to the right, vibe to the right, vibe to the I'm so excited. Our guest today is Mark Brickey. And for those of you who know Mark and us, you know what's coming. But we're very excited to have Mark on our show. It's been a long time coming. And I want to take a moment to tell you that we are brought to you by our new sponsor, Sports Rehab LA. Sports Rehab LA is the world's premier sports physical therapy clinic. They have over 450 world-class athletes, NFL players, NBA stars, and the equipment, the facilities they have, because I was there recently, just incredible. Sports Rehab LA is the place. Offices in Encino, California, and Beverly Hills. Today on our show, Mark Brickey. And Mark is our king. Anybody who does a podcast, Mark is our king. But Mark and I have had many adventures, and we've shared a lot of stories that we never get tired of telling. He has adventures in design. There was Disney for Designers. He's on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, everywhere. He is a sought-after speaker, the master of ceremonies for DesignerCon, and so much more. His YouTube channel, Hey Bricky, is just a must for anybody interested in Disney. And he is a former Disney Wonderground artist. So Mark, thank you for coming to a Walk with Walt podcast at last. Welcome.
Excited to be here, man. I'm excited to chop it up with you guys. And you're absolutely right. Getting together, hanging out at Disneyland, it doesn't matter how much time has passed. That place always puts you in the present. I know it was meant to be, a kickback to the past and to the future. And Walt had a very, very strict rule. Nothing in Disneyland was supposed to be representative of the present. But it makes you ironically feel present when you're there, because you just get so lost in everything that's happening around you that you're like, let's live this moment now, because we came here to get away from everything happening on the outside of the burb. So I love escaping there with my buds, and it's been a pleasure hanging out with you. And yes, I like how you summarized it. We've gotten into some adventures. We've gotten into many adventures, my friend.
Yes, we have. Maybe we'll touch on a couple that we can, at least, that we feel comfortable in talking about. Another thing I didn't mention about Mark, and he just demonstrated it, he sees things that we do not see. Yep. He sees things and could explain them to you that, like, wow, I never viewed it in that particular way. And the one thing I miss about being close to Disney is we would take a lap. There's nothing like taking a lap with Mark Brickey. And we had some great laps and some great times. And sometimes it was just me and him. Sometimes we had a big group. But I loved taking our laps around Disney. It was so much fun.
Yeah, and we go back to being friends when the park wasn't lap friendly. Like, one of the greatest advents of Galaxy's Edge is that it finally made Walt's Park a continuous loop. Like, you had to go down to the dead end, the sketchy part of town called Critter Country, and then you had to backtrack back out, And now with Galaxy's Edge, the park essentially has two hubs. There's the main hub, but then the Rivers of America acts as a secondary hub that you can slowly roll around, and that makes the park one continuous loop. So we predate lapping the park when it was kind of hard to take a lap around the park.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah, the lap was definitely a road course, not a NASCAR oval. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You just hit that end of Critter Country, and you're like, all right, what do we do now? I guess we go back the way that we came, and it was so defeating.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you something. Yeah. When I saw you in Vegas, I dropped you and your friend, why am I forgetting his name, the photographer?
Chris Glass.
Chris, yeah, he's a great guy. Good carry. I dropped you guys off at Area 15.
Yeah.
At Omega Mart.
Yeah.
Mart. Did you go to Omega Mart? Had you been there before?
So I'd been there before, but when you dropped us off, we got a one-on-one tour with their creative director, and he walked me and Glass through the entire area. and kind of gave us the broad strokes of the overall backstory and the different artists that put everything together. And of course, I had 1,000 questions about, how they curate the space with so many different artists touching it. But yeah, it was an unbelievable afternoon of just getting the behind the scenes look at the magic that they've created there in Las Vegas. Thanksgiving.
Yeah, they just opened up the new Universal horror show.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine, but it could be the precursor for Universal and also Oogie Boogie Bash to have their Halloween shows year long, just all year long, because that's apparently what this is.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a market for satellite theme park experiences, because really what we're looking at is the deterioration of what used to be America's favorite pastime was shopping in the shopping mall. And even if you didn't like shopping, you probably did go to the mall for some sort of entertainment or just getting out in your community. And now online has destroyed all of that. So the real golden era of the theme park that we're seeing is fueled by a couple of things. People don't shop anymore in their real life. Retail is dead, but also we are now in the FOMO chapter of society where everybody wants to go out, capture for social media, and show everybody what they just did this last day. And so the theme parks, in particular the Disney theme parks, are some of the most geotagged locations in social media history. So there's a couple of different factors that are working toward what I believe. There's all these empty Sears and all these empty malls all across America. Whoever figures out how to put either touring entertainment or permanent entertainment in some of these spaces, I think will crack the code to future, IRL entertainment, which is kind of interesting because this is basically what Walt Disney's idea was 70 years ago this summer, to figure out a way to let people get lost inside of their entertainment, to go someplace that was, where everyone in the family could partake in it. So I think what Universal did with that very first high-end satellite micro theme park, I don't think that's a trend that dies. I think it's only a trend that gets bigger and bigger.
I think you're right. And even it reminds me of when I was in Hawaii. I was over there for work and Mary was with me, and we went over to Alani and met our friend Craig Park, which you guys all know. And he was there, and him and his wife and us, and we had dinner, and I still had got my Disney vibe, and I wasn't anywhere close to Anaheim. Now that's like a destination place, but I wasn't staying at the hotel, but I got to see Mickey, and you get your picture taken with them before dinner. And I got all my Disney fill. And like you said, it's a small campus in comparison to like a theme park, but I felt like I was, I got my Disney fill for the week for sure. So I totally think you're right on the money with the trend.
I also think, talking about this trend a little bit more, Universal has their kid only park or, kid focused park that's opening up in Texas, where they took everything and they made it, very, very family friendly. There's no thrill rides, and all the intellectual property is catered to a younger audience so that it's a family park. I think that this is Universal's move. I think if Universal franchises and they kind of go market by market and do these isolated satellite parks, I think that's a really great space for them to get into, because I don't see Disney touching that, because Disney is beyond theme park. Disney is about resort experience. The hotel guest is the most important guest. The theme parks are designed to sell hotel tickets. I don't see Disney double down on the smaller satellite space, but I do see this to be Universal's way to do something that's unique to their company and to kind of be the face of modular entertainment.
Yeah.
I did not know about that theme park in Texas.
Oh yeah, it's going to be open next year.
Yeah, I did not know about that. You had a podcast recently, I think May. You told a very touching story that you went to Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
Like you go there once a year. It's where you recharge your batteries.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw a family and grandma was there for the last time. Do you mind? Do you mind telling that story?
Okay. Well, with the growth of my YouTube channel, I've started going out to Walt Disney World quarterly. And what I really enjoy about it is I live and work at Disneyland. I go to Disneyland, I film videos, and typically there's the ticking of the drum of I got to get back home to do my personal responsibilities or edit the video that I just shot. So don't get me wrong. I go there and I love it. And I found a way to make it to where I could love it more by going there more often. But when I go to Walt Disney World, kind of a lot of my personal responsibilities just disintegrate because I'm out on the other side of the country and I don't have to rush home to like feed Uncle Larry, who happens to be my dog. So there's nothing better than the first day of a Walt Disney World trip or a Disney trip if you're coming from the other direction. The first day is full of optimism. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Time hasn't started to run out yet. So your very first minutes of getting there, the world is your oyster. The next 5 days, you're going to get it all done. You won't get half of it done, but the optimism is still there. So as I'm all charged up that I'm just going to destroy Walt Disney World over the next 5 days, and I'm just buzzing on a high, I come through the far tunnel on the right, because, they got dual tunnels. And this woman and this family, she was not creating a scene. She was not like, oh, pay attention to me. I just happened to walk past a very intimate family moment. And, one of the things I say a lot of times on my channel, because I'm very particular how I make videos in the park. I try not to film other guests. I wear high-powered microphones close to my mouth, and I have a way that I talk into them, so I'm not like yelling or screaming. Like, I try to be very, very polite. And I always remind people that every time you're at the park, don't repeat the Haunted Mansion narration, because someone around you, it's their first time, and someone around you, it's their last time. And you always got to kind of keep in mind that there will be people that will only ever be there one time. So there's always people around you that are doing it way less than us maniacs do it. And so I'd always theorize about what it's like to be there for your last time. So as I was cruising through, I just happened to just like ships in the night, like just kind of pass by this family. This woman, who you could tell was obviously terminally ill. She was on a scooter and had the oxygen in and everything. And I just happened to be starting my trip right when she was ending her last trip. And she had tears in her eyes, and she was just telling her family, like, I'm not ready to say goodbye. I don't want this to be over. I'm not ready to say goodbye. And they were all crying, and they had the family shirts on and stuff. And it was like literally like their vacation had wound up. And this is somebody that knew, with whatever life she had left, that she had just spent however many hours or days at Magic Kingdom. And like witnessing that and seeing that, it was so heavy and kind of also a blessing, because here I am starting a trip. Time's just going to melt. And it really kind of made me think about, be present. Like, keep in mind that you have all these goals. Try to make as many of them happen as possible. And it was really, really heavy. And it gave me a face full of tears. I went right over to a bench and kind of decompressed. And it was just kind of like the saddest, but yet most beautiful moment I've ever seen at Magic Kingdom.
That's awesome.
I bring it up because I'm getting older. And Mark, many times recently at Disneyland, I'm on the part of my life, not how many times am I going to come here, but how many times left can I make it? And especially living as far away as I do, but I try to treasure it and cherish it. Every sight, sound, bite of food, because I don't know, I could probably really put a number on how many can be left for me. But so when I heard you say that, tell that story, it really struck home with me, because I think of that a lot. Yeah. And here's Mark witnessing a last time. And it was a beautiful story, and it was just awesome hearing it.
Well, then for me, something similar just happened within the last few weeks. And most people that are following Bricky's show or our show, of Frank, who was the mayor of Main Street. He sat on the porch. And so this is just a couple Saturdays ago. Hannah and I went, daddy-daughter day. And it's the one thing I love about Disneyland. Like, where else can a dad and his 25-year-old daughter go and just have a good time like she was 12 again, right? It's one of those really cool places. We've had that relationship, my daughter and I, since she was literally in diapers. And so it's just this place, daddy-daughter day. You're walking down Main, and you know what? I could have just kept going, but I seen Frank there and nobody was talking. So I walked up. Hey, Frank, how's it going? We talked to Dodgers. He looked good, and good to see you. We talked to Woes. Dodgers were playing good at the time. We just had the little chit chat. Well, hey, man, have a good day, Frank, man. He said our, cordial greetings and said hi. And we walked away, and then just a couple days later we saw that Frank had passed. And you know what, it's just, you don't know when it is going to be that last time, but it's just so many people. It was on the Orange County Register, I think, on the obituary section just the last couple days, a big huge article about him. But it is, it's just, for those that don't understand, it's this amazing place where relationships are built, where joy happens, where families have those special moments that they'll never forget. And so, that's awesome, Bricky. I'm so glad you told us that story.
I had just started a new ritual of, like, I get to the park for rope drop to film, because the first hour and a half everybody runs and rides, so the thoroughfares are empty, and that's how I get so many of my, like, famous empty shots. So instead of, like, rushing down to the hub, because I'm literally waiting for everybody to go through the hub and then get on the ride, I started stopping at the porch and hanging out. And, I didn't really, like, bother Frank because he had his own thing going, being a Disneyland celebrity. But, we kind of talked a little bit, and we're, like, not buds, but just would chat to each other, whatever. And so he noticed that people would come up and ask me for a photo, and he was used to everybody asking him for a photo. And his last thing he told to me, I was hanging out on the porch the Thursday before he passed away. So, I mean, it might have been his last day at the park or second to last day at the park.
Yeah.
Which, when I saw in the paper that he had died, I was like, oh my God, I would just literally talk to him yesterday. And he was like, there was no indication that he was winding it down. But the last thing he said to me is this family came up and they were excited to get a photo, and they took the photo with me. And he leans over and goes, "You're almost getting to be as famous as me." And I started laughing so hard because
that's so good.
He loved sitting there, but he knew what he was doing. Like, he was there to see the people and to talk to the people. And as soon as somebody zoomed in on him, he went into complete entertainer mode and just, like, focused in on them and gave them all of his attention. And so it was really, really great to see that. And then the following week, I started to see the old guy power grab develop, where there's now other old guys that are trying to become,
gonna take the spot.
Really?
Yes. I was literally
Oh my
overhearing
God.
it and seeing it. I'm like, man, people really are gross.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Because I have this in my notes here to talk about, that I think we need to find his replacement. And it's too much for one person. So I have 3 nominees to replace Porch Chair Frank: Mark, Pete, and David. Yeah. 3. It's not funny. Wait.
It's funny.
Wait. 3 people, because it's too big for one man.
Yeah.
3 people that are always at the park, so we'll have continuous coverage on the porch. So what do you think, guys? And get someone young. Get someone young up there.
That ain't me.
Start it early.
I would just like to think that there would be some sort of, vote for it. And when we saw white smoke coming out of the top of Sleeping Beauty Castle, we would know that we had a new Frank had been voted in.
That is so awesome.
The only thing that I did close to what Frank accomplished was, I did 2 years ago, or was it last November or 2 November? I think it was 2 Novembers ago. When I went to the park and I sat on one bench for 16 hours straight. And let me tell you, out of all the stunts I've done at Disneyland, that one was by far the most mentally exhausting one that I ever did.
Wow.
One more thing. Okay, on my list of just carry things to talk. Can we talk about the concept, the category of Disney adults?
Yeah.
Now, I was there recently with some friends, 3 friends, 2 from the Phoenix area, 1 from suburbs of Chicago. And the guy, John, from Chicago area, said, Carrie, and he's in his mid-40s, I'll say. He said, why do people, we're having a great time. And he said, why do people ask me, are you a Disney adult? And he says, I hate that. I hate when people ask me that. He says, I love Disney. I love Disney as an adult. But then this is what he said to me. As an adult, I appreciate it much more than I ever could as a kid. The architecture, the vibe, the history, the technology, everything, like how we got here. He says, you can't appreciate that as a kid, but as a mature adult, I love it more than ever. So what are your thoughts on that? But I agree. And I never heard it put that way until he said it. But yes.
Well, that brings up two different thoughts. Is one, I never got to consume Disneyland as a kid. I only got to see it as an adult. So I think your friend is very, very correct, because when I walked through the front gate, I had been a professional illustrator designer for, almost 2 decades. And so I looked at it instantly as, oh my God, this is a living, breathing art piece. But let's go back further from your friend's opinion or my opinion. Let's go to part of the original design team. John Hench, legendary Imagineer and kind of, Walt's, really trusted right-hand man who was like smart enough to get it and kind of bitchy enough to make sure that he got it done his way. Like the stories of Hench telling people to redo stuff at Epcot is phenomenal. And it makes you happy to know that somebody still had like Walt's level of attention to detail, long after his death. So John Hench explains that Disneyland was designed for adults because kids already live in the world of fantasy. So we don't need to worry about making something feel real or over exaggerated to children, because they already live in a skewed version of reality. We need to focus on making a place that makes an adult feel like they've slipped into fantasy, but yet also feel real. So it actually was designed for adults in mind, because they felt like they already had the kid. And if you think about it, Walt's vision of sitting on the bench and seeing his daughters doing something, it wasn't about, I need to make a place for kids. I need to make a place for a family. And that's a polite way of saying, I want to be in on the action as well. So I do think that they've spent a lot of time trying to design for adults. And I went on an interesting quest at the beginning of this year. I started reading the newspaper every day from 1955. I go over to a website that has every newspaper scanned. I put in Disneyland, I put in the day's date, I have it zoned out to California, and I kind of just read all the articles. A couple of things that Disney was very blown away by in their opening month. We're talking about, I'm now talking about articles I was reading at the beginning of August 55. They did not expect as many retired people to go there as they did. It was very, very popular amongst retired seniors. It was very popular amongst adults. And this kind of like made me realize that I go back and look at a lot of people's amateur home videos from the park. And I'm just trying to find clips of little pieces to put in my documentaries. And like, there's certain things that are like the holy grail. And like, I'll see dad walking through there with his camera on his shoulder. I'm like, do not get on that Jungle Cruise. Do not get on that Jungle Cruise. It hasn't changed in 70 years. You're wasting your footage. Go to Frontierland. There's so many things that are no longer there. And what do you know? Dad goes straight to the Jungle Cruise. But one of the things I've learned from this early, private home videos that people are so gracious to put up on YouTube to share with everybody is you hardly see any children at all in the first decade or so. So the term Disney adults is interesting. It's a compliment to some and an insult to others. And I think it typically is the way that it's framed. Like, are you a Disney adult or are you a Disney adult? And I personally don't like being called that, because so many people online will just kind of casually cowboy into a video and then their comment will be like, oh, these Disney adults. And so I hear it framed more negatively than I do positively, but it's kind of a fun argument to think about. Well, it was actually designed for adults, because there's also this notion of like, look at these people going to a place that's designed for kids. No, not according to the guy that designed the place.
Yeah.